Hey everybody, I'm Dan Robinson, and I'm here today to demystify double bass. As I started playing drums a long time ago, when I saw someone playing double bass for the first time, I thought it was magical. I had no idea how it was happening, could not figure out how they were possibly doing that with their feet, and so I thought I would create a video that would hopefully help demystify some of the techniques and just kind of explain to you what double bass is, how it works, and how you can get started being successful at that. So the first thing we want to talk about is double bass. So double bass is the concept of using both of your feet to play the kick drum. Normally, a right-handed person would use their right foot to play the kick drum, and then you have the opportunity with two pedals to play the kick drum with 2 feet. There are some setups where you have 2 individual kick drums for this purpose, but in most cases you'll see someone with a single kick drum with 2 pedals with 2 beaters on there. So we can see down here that I have 2 beaters and that my 2 feet are making that happen. And there's a bar that's connecting the 2 so that I have that happening. Also, something notable is that your hi-hat is usually what you're doing with your left foot. And so they design double kick pedals such that you have room, and I have there's an example here, where my hi-hat is right next to my kick drum pedal, and I'm able to swap between the 2 as I need to. So as we're thinking about double bass, one of the first things we want to think about is how we're going to make our feet and legs actually do the trick. So when we're doing a normal kick, we're usually using our leg that's using a combination of our calf and our shin. There are some people who put their heel down. And then what you'll find that if you put your heel down, what you're using is all shin. Whereas if you are making it a combination of both your shin and your calf by having your heel up, it's much more efficient. You'll find that you'll be able to do longer runs and that you will fatigue less. So I highly recommend having your heel up while you are playing double bass. So the other question is, what kind of double bass pedal should I get? And that's a very good question. If you're just exploring double bass for the first time, I can encourage you that a simple double bass pedal is a great way to start. I started with a Iron Cobra single chain, and then what I'm using today is a DW9000 double chain. It's a more advanced model. And then the goal is that you are kicking down, and then your pedal should also have some bounce back. And you're going to be working with that with the hope of making that smooth. Starting off, one of the first things you can do when you get your double bass pedal, you want to make sure that your beaters are at a good height. You can make your beaters longer or shorter. Shorter beaters have a shorter distance to go. Longer beaters will have a longer throw. So you want to figure out a nice balanced spot that works for you. And you would want that to be something that is comfortable for you as you're playing. So you would want to set that beater height, you get everything set up, and you're ready to go. And then I would say the first step to figuring out double bass is to kind of tie it to your hands. The most simple patterns that you do with your hands as a drummer are things that you could also do with your feet to help acclimate your feet to both working at the same time and working independently. So the other thing that I always highly recommend is a metronome. A metronome is a drummer's best friend. You need to be able to play with a metronome in the studio, and when you rehearse with a metronome, you will find that your natural inclination for timing will be much better. So I encourage you to get a metronome. There are free metronome apps, so it doesn't have to cost you any money. You can run it right off your phone, and then that gives you a steady beat to follow and play with and off of. So we're going to fire up a metronome. We're going to do a couple of simple exercises just to start getting our feet working with our hands in a simple pattern. So let's try that out. We've got our metronome set up at a comfortable 120 beats per minute, and we're going to start with simple eighth notes, both in our feet and in our hands. So let's give that a try. Then the goal is that you be able to take away your hands and start to do that simply with your feet. It's interesting because it seems like going slow is even harder than going fast sometimes. But much like with any instrument, I highly encourage you that slow and right is better than fast and wrong. So it's good to start it slow, work it slow, and then increase your BPMs as you get comfortable, knowing that you are accurate with that time. Let's try that again. So you notice as we're going along that the metronome, interestingly enough, has an accented beat. And so as we are counting our double bass, we want to be thinking about that accent. As we start to move our double bass faster, we're going to want to be sure that we are counting broader strokes than the individual notes. If we're counting individual notes, it's going to feel overwhelming. It's going to be too much. So what we want to do is start thinking about the tactus is the technical term, or the actual, the main beat of the group of four. So in this case, we have an accented 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's that one that you want to think about while you're working your feet. And you can slightly accent that. And then we're going to move that around as we get more comfortable with our feet doing these patterns. But now I'm going to do it with an accent on that first beat. Very often you're going to be leading with your right foot, just as you would as a standard drummer. And then the left foot is going to be the other beat. So once we've started working our hands with our feet, getting comfortable with doing simple eighth note patterns, getting them lined up together, and we start moving them a little faster, then we can start separating our hands from our feet and letting our hands do different things. One of the great tools that helps out someone who's working on double bass runs, which is specifically what we're talking about today, is a quick release clutch on your hi-hat. So usually you have to keep your hi-hat closed with your left foot. And in this circumstance, we're using our left foot, so we need to figure out a way for our hi-hat to stay closed while we're using our left foot if we want to have a closed hi-hat. The trick to that is this quick release, which allows me to release that, and then, this is the magical part, when I press down on it, it rehooks the hi-hat and opens it back up. So when I let go of the quick release, then I'm able to hit the hi-hat closed without my foot attached, which is kind of a fun trick. So now I can use my hi-hat for a different subdivision while I'm doing my pattern with my feet. So there we have 16th notes in my feet, 8th notes in my left hand, and quarter notes in my right hand. And that is just a small window into the polyrhythm that occurs with double bass. But the fun part is when you speed it up, then you have the opportunity to kind of put your feet on autopilot and start working with other things with the top side of your body. So let's start looking at some patterns like that. So what we were doing was counting fours, groups of fours with our feet. A very fun trick that you can start to do is start to think about threes, your feet as threes in conjunction to your hands up above. So in this case, for every 3 kick beats, I will be doing a 4 pattern on top, which will give it a kind of gallopy 3 sort of feel. Check this out. So that's 3 working in my feet while I'm doing a 4 pattern up above. So this is 115 BPMs. And as you can see, once you've gotten comfortable with getting your feet running, then that opens up a whole world for you on the top side. Let's talk about some more double bass patterns. Another fun way to use double bass is as part of a triplet with one of the other drums completing that triplet for you. So I would be doing 2 foot hits and then a triplet with the snare in this case. So if you're doing a run pattern, you can work that in as a triplet at the backside of the run, or it's just very nice as an accent. So slowly, we'll do it slowly first. So you see I'm leading with my right foot. I'm doing a pretty standard pattern, but then when I want that triplet, I throw that left foot in, which is very convenient. And then I can, with my speed clutch, if I need to get into some hi-hat work, I can do that and then open that back up or close it down as I need to, but then have my left foot available to be able to complete those triplets. Those are a lot of fun as an accent like that. They're kind of fun on their own in a heavy metal context. So let's look at some of those. So using that as part of a triplet, and you can also use that in a fill as well. Just you're using that front side of the triplet to be able to accent those things with 2 notes in your feet and 1 note in your hands. Another fun technique is doing 2 notes in your feet and 2 notes in your hand. So you're using it as a quad, essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is another one that really is nice with a metronome to be able to kind of get into the groove of. And essentially what you're doing is training muscle memory. You're getting to a point where your muscles are comfortable doing the work, and then you can kind of disengage and use your brain to make decisions about what your muscles are going to be doing because your muscles are essentially on autopilot. So let's fire up a metronome and work on a couple of those quads real quick and then see them in a faster context. So here at 100 beats per minute, we're going to do 2 feet, 2 hands. So you can see how that starts to kind of get organic, and then you can start moving that around the kit. that's groups of 4 where your feet are the first 2 of the 4. Another fun trick that you can do is add 2 more to the top so that you're doing 2 with your feet and 4 with your hands to break up those quads. So I'll show you how that works. So those are a lot of fun in the context of fills, because as you're doing fast quads, then if you need a break for your feet and if things are just feeling like it's a big mean run, then you have the opportunity to break that up a little bit. I'm going to stop the metronome and show you some of those. So those quads are a blast. They're a whole lot of fun. They're the more you do them, the easier they get. And it's a whole lot of fun to work into the context of fills. It makes your fills sound a lot more busy than they actually are. It's a wonderful trick and is a whole lot of fun to use as a trick with double bass in particular. So that's some views into how double bass works, and I hope that if you are a aspiring drummer, that this provides you some insight as to what double bass is and the different ways that you can apply it. And I really appreciate the opportunity to do this here at Fayetteville Public Television. If you're interested in Fayetteville Public Television, you should check out faypublic.tv, and you can share your musical knowledge with a television audience. I've had a pleasure doing that, and I want to give a shout out to the Studio Lab crew who made this possible. Thank you all very much, and keep on drumming. Thank you, Fayetteville.